Okay, hello. Good morning. I should have been asleep a few hours ago, but um, I stumbled across something that really disturbed me, and I'm gonna kind of have to go into details as to why it disturbed me. It's one of those things that's based a lot on my own experience and inductive knowledge. So, I was reading a comic book with Avengers versus X-Men, big comic book thing, and I came across the character of Lightspeed in it. Now, Lightspeed, for those of you who don't know, she was a member of the Power Pack. Um, early very young comic book team. Is great, enjoyable comic book. Apparently they're not doing it anymore. Apparently they have the kids all grown up now, but that would be Lightspeed from Power Pack. Okay, get that nice looking image there. Yep. Um, and she was 11 in Power Pack, and it was a great comic, enjoyable to read, and it's great. It's really fun. Check it out if you get a chance. Um, but apparently, in these newer comics, they've had her grow up, and she's like 17 now instead of the 11 that she was, and she's working at the Avengers Academy. I haven't been following that at all. Don't know anything about it. But it was she made a comment. She had a brief appearance and made a comment in one of them that indicated that she was a lesbian, which, my first reaction is like, what? When did they make her a lesbian? So I looked her up on Wikipedia, found it, and apparently she's not just a lesbian, but she's bisexual now. Now, this really upset me, and I'm going to have to kind of explain why. It's not, and I know a lot of people will get to this point in the video and just say, you're anti this, you're anti homosexual, anti-bisexual, whatever. And that's not the case. There's a specific reason this is upsetting me based on my experience. And so I have to kind of go into a little bit about sexuality and so on. So first off, I don't accept the standard view of sexuality, that we're born with it and there's nothing we can do about it. Don't entirely agree, mainly because I've seen a lot of people who've had sexual tendencies one way or the other, fight against them. Not ignore them, not bury them, but actually confront them and fight against them. And for one reason or another, whether they didn't like them for religious reasons or personal reasons or whatever, they made it work. They fought against the desires they had and changed. So it does happen, and it can happen that way. And honestly, human sexuality is a hugely, hugely complex thing, and to just boil it down to a single biological cause, I think is really disingenuous to sexuality and really all humans in general. I think it's much more complex than that is. And so one of the things I've noticed, just working in psychology, working with people in all walks of life, all sexualities, is oftentimes there are things that cause it. And what I've observed from observing a lot of people who were abused, and not just sexually abused, all kinds of abuse, emotional, physical, whatever you want to call it, whatever there is out there, they've been through it, is that they will often react to that abuse in a sexual way. So, for example, a child who's abused might seek out sexual comfort from someone who's the opposite of the person abusing them. So if they're abused by a man, they'll seek out comfort from a woman. If they're abused by a woman, they'll seek out comfort from a man. This is regardless of the child's own sexuality. This isn't the case. I don't believe this is the case for everyone who is homosexual has been abused. And I don't believe everyone who's heterosexual has been abused either. It's, like I said, it's a hugely complex thing. That's just, in many cases, that is a factor that I think a lot of people ignore. But bisexuality is kind of interesting. I have a friend, she's a social worker, and actually she is a lesbian, and she's always maintained that bisexuality doesn't actually exist. And what she means by that, I think to a certain extent it is true. What she means by that is it's not a sustainable lifestyle. Eventually you're going to be pulled one way or the other. You'll either become heterosexual or homosexual. You can't stay bisexual your entire life. Just the human body can't keep jumping back and forth that way. It can when you're in a process of experimenting. Yeah, it can do that. I'll grant you that. But you can't sustain it for long periods of time. You're eventually going to go one way or the other, and that's very true. True. So bisexuality is a little bit odd, and it really depends on circumstances and situations and so on. And I have known a few people who were bisexual, and every single one of them had that I've known personally. So, like I said, this is entirely based on my own experience. But all the ones I've personally known had been abused as children, and generally severely abused. Um, some of it was sexual, some of it was physical, but there was that severe level of abuse. And what would happen was that they would seek comfort in the opposite gender of the person abusing them. In the case of a young lady I knew, she sought comfort from women because she was abused by a male. But her inherent instinct was actually to go with men, to be attracted to men, not to be attracted to women. But as a comfort thing, she would be attracted to women, and she did get married to a man, and pretty much screwed up her entire marriage just simply because she couldn't, anytime something really stressful, really horrible happened in her life that stressed her out, she'd automatically go and have an affair with a woman, which, no matter how open-minded a guy is, let me tell you this, no matter how open-minded a guy is, if his wife or even girlfriend leaves him for another woman, even temporarily, that's a horrible blow to the ego. I understand the same thing is true for women when men do that sort of thing. So, yeah, like that. So, based on my inductive experience, I suddenly learned that a character, and she is just a fictional character, but a character I liked as a fictional character who I'd always viewed up until reading this comic book as, a kid, an 11-year-old kid, because, fictional people don't need to grow up. I mean, let's be fair. you don't need to grow up. Peter Pan never grew up. Lots of kids in novels just, we see them as kids, and another novel's written 10, 15 years later, they're still the same age, they're still kids, so, they don't have to grow up, and it's, and that's fine, that's okay, we see them as kids. And it's also okay to kind of have them grow up too. It depends on the writing, depends on what's doing, but it's just the idea that somehow between her being in Power Pack and her, being, the 6 years between Power Pack and her being a 17-year-old at the Avengers Academy, something horrific happened to her enough for her to become bisexual bothers me on a fundamental level, and that's one of the things. I don't think in comic books they kind of throw sexuality around a lot. They want, to say, okay, we have this great character there, we'll make them homosexual so that they'll be more accepted, we'll make them bisexual so accepted. But the way they're written is really actually odd, and I think it's actually offensive to people who are homosexual or bisexual. And oftentimes they have them behaving in really, really odd ways. Apparently the current run of Iceman, I haven't read it, don't really want to read it, they've made him very, very homosexual, which, okay, he's never shown a sign of that in the past, but okay. But they have him behaving in really odd ways. He has one homosexual encounter with a guy, and then basically, travels across the country just to be with this guy, which is, yeah, just on any sort of relationship level, that's not a good thing. It's, one night stand followed by following a guy across the country. That's not a healthy situation, no matter how it plays out. It's not a healthy thing to do. And the idea that it would be, that they're not just portraying him as homosexual, which, okay, that's fine, but portraying him as engaging in essentially dangerous behavior as a homosexual and painting it as normal, I find that a little dangerous, a little bit odd and dangerous, so I tend to avoid the comic books and the characters like that. So, yeah, it's a little disappointing that they've, back to Lightspeed, it's a little disappointing that they've done this to Lightspeed. She marks yet another character I can't read the current version of just because of all the stuff that they've done to her, but it's also like I said, it gets me on a fundamental level. When you've worked with people who have been abused, when you've worked with children who have been abused, as I have, it really does get to you and affects you. And in this case with her, it's something had to have happened between her being a happy 11-year-old girl and her being this 17-year-old girl who's into both guys and girls. Is something has psychologically speaking, something has to have happened to get her from that point to that point. And it's, I'm willing to accept she may have had a predilection one way or the other towards guys or towards girls or whatever, but yeah, it's like that. It's very disturbing, and it really hurts me to read her like this, just because I I empathize with the pain that she must have gone through to get to that point, even though I'm sure when they write it, they're saying, oh, there's absolutely no pain, she's just that way, which isn't really an answer. So, anyway, that's just my 2 cents. Me, very tired right now, but just felt like I needed to come out and say that and get that out there, get it off my chest. And anyway, like and subscribe. Let me know what you think about Lightspeed, what you think about my thoughts and feelings on human sexuality. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. Bye.